kiddies, thanks for joining me once again for another episode of Who's Wrong on the Interwebs. Same shit, different day. Same sort of people saying the same stupid things, I imagine. Haven't watched this through from start to finish. That's the caveat. Don't even know who this bloke is. He's another one of these health and fitness influencers that wants to say calories in, calories out, though, I imagine. And this is a little video by Mike Matthews called What 33 Studies Say About the CICO Diet for Weight Loss. Well, this will be enthralling, Mike. Do tell us, what do 33 studies say about the CICO diet for weight loss? Off you go, son.
If you've been in the fitness game for any amount of time now, when you hear about a new weight loss diet, especially a weight loss diet with a name like the CICO diet, you probably assume it's bullshit. And that's good. You should be very skeptical of anything that you hear about nutrition, exercise, supplementation, longevity, and really anything else related to health, fitness, and wellness.
You're doing okay so far.
Is so much bad information out there.
There really is, Mike Matthews. Yep.
It is staggering. And anything related to weight loss is particularly bad in this regard.
Yes, particularly calling it weight loss in the first place, Mike, because actually what people are looking for in general is a change in their physique, a change in their body composition, quite independent of weight. Okay, someone that's vastly, grossly over fat that loses their extra fat will indeed lose some weight, more likely than not. But people can make quite meaningful changes to their composition without changing their weight at all in general, or indeed they might even get slightly heavier, which would seem to be against the goal of a weight loss diet, wouldn't it? So the first thing that I would suggest to you, Mike, is perhaps you should start calling a spade, and if you're talking about fat loss, that's what you should actually talk about, not weight loss, okay?
There's a lot of money to be made in lying to people about how to lose weight faster, whether it is following a specific diet or exercise routine or supplementation regimen or a combination of all three or something else altogether. And so that brings us to the topic at hand, which is the CICO diet. Is it an effective weight loss diet?
No. In general, for most people, it will not work long-term, effectively or predictably or safely, mostly because people will be required, mostly, to vastly, grossly, hugely undereat in order to make it work for them predictably, precisely because of its huge inaccuracy. And as such, that's contraindicated, dangerous, misanthropic advice that nobody should be giving somebody, basically. The way to predictably, safely, and effectively control your body composition is to feed yourself a species-appropriate, species-specific diet to satiety. You don't have to count anything or track anything, pretty much. We're done. Thanks for joining me. Join me next time when someone else will be a fuckwit on the interwebs. Oh, well, I suppose we should, since we're here, we should really listen to what Mike has to say, shouldn't we? He hasn't been doing too badly so far, but I suspect it won't continue.
Does it work, or is it just another fad that's going to come and go like the many others that we've seen over the last several decades? Hey everyone, I'm Mike Matthews, and I'm going to break down what the CICO diet is, how it works,
It doesn't.
and how to use it effectively, which means I've already...
It doesn't work effectively. That's the problem with it, Mike. That's why it's bad, contraindicated advice to give to people to attempt to do it. I'll get to my reasons why I'm saying that as they become relevant, so don't jump all over me just yet.
shown my hand and revealed that the CICO diet is an effective way to lose weight.
Right, well, there you go. We're done with Mike Matthews, and you were doing reasonably well up to that point. You did get it wrong when you talked about weight loss, of course. That's maybe somewhat forgivable, but suggesting that the CICO diet is effective and predictable and can be used by Joe Public out there to predictably control their body composition and to get the results thereafter safely, effectively, and predictably. Wrong, Mike. Sorry. No.
It does work if you know how to work it.
Well, good luck with that, because to do calories in, calories out, you need to be able to count how many calories you genuinely are consuming and how many you genuinely are expending. Good luck. We're done. But you're not done, so I suppose we should hear you out.
Why? Well, CICO stands for calories in, calories out.
Right, neither of which Joe Public in the street is going to be able to count for themselves at home remotely accurately, Mike. We're done. We're finished. That's it. End of that as a useful tool for Joe Public to use. Sorry.
And so it's not really a diet in the way many people use the word or the way many people think about the word. It refers to a fundamental law of the human metabolism.
No, it doesn't at all. It doesn't refer to human metabolism in any way. It ignores human metabolism completely because of huge, vast, complete lacks of understanding of how human metabolism actually works. Are you actually trained in human metabolism at all, Mike? Do you have any training in this field whatsoever? Do you have any expertise in this area at all, other than you're a self-proclaimed coach of some kind? I don't know. I haven't looked into you, but it sounds like you don't.
That dictates what happens with your body weight, that dictates weight gain, weight loss, and weight maintenance.
See, weight again. The largest component of your weight is water. Your water balance can change quite markedly from day to day for a number of different reasons, completely unrelated to calories. Whoops, we're done. Again, we're still done. You're still not done though. You've still got nearly 17 and a half minutes left of dribbling on like an idiot, it seems.
And it's called energy balance.
Well, energy balance, fine. Calories, no, not fine. Because calories are not a robust, accurate, or scientifically valid measurement estimate of the effective energy derivable from foodstuffs by the human metabolic system, not remotely.
Now, energy balance is simply the relationship between the amount of energy that you are eating and you are burning. And
well, you don't actually eat energy, and neither do you burn energy. So those are also two terms that you need to tidy up in your vernacular there, Mike. But okay, fine. Carry on.
Is expressed usually in calories.
Well, that's the mistake. That's the error. Calories are not a robust, scientifically valid, accurate estimate of the actual energy derivable from foods by the human metabolic system. We're done with calories. They're not a useful tool.
And when we're talking about food, a calorie is the amount of energy that's required to heat 1 kilogram of water 1 degree Celsius.
No, that's a kcalorie, Mike, not a calorie. That's a kcalorie you're talking about. You're a factor of 1,000 out there, son.
And before anyone jumps in the comments trying to correct me on my definition, use the fucking dictionary.
I did use the fucking dictionary, Mike. I do understand what the scientific definitions are for the so-called measurements of so-called energy in food, so-called. And a kcalorie is the amount of energy you're talking about, not the calorie.
That is the definition.
No, it fucking isn't.
Now, the reason why energy balance is so fundamental to body weight is if you are regularly consuming more energy than you're burning, more
you don't burn energy, we've covered that.
Calories than you're burning, your body stores a portion of the surplus as body fat.
How does that happen, Mike? How do you store heat energy as body fat? Please explain. Shall we wait? I think we won't wait because we'll be waiting a very, very long time for an explanation of how that happens. heat energy is massless. It's photons of a certain wavelength, Mike. Fat is made from carbohydrate, free fatty acids, sometimes amino acids, and occasionally alcohol. Ultimately, you could say it's built up as well in the cells from acetyl coenzyme A, which is the first intermediary of the TCA cycle. Absolutely. It's not made from energy, Mike. So, no, you've got that wrong as well.
And then on the flip side, if you are regularly burning more energy,
Yeah, we've covered that. You're not.
Then you are consuming. So if you are eating fewer calories and you're burning consistently.
You don't eat calories. Calories are heat energy. You can't eat heat energy. That's photons. How do you eat photons, Mike? How does that work? Shall we wait? Dear, oh dear. What you're eating when you consume foods, Michael, is mass. It's matter. It's not photons. The energy released as a calorie when you combust something rapidly in a bomb calorimeter is photons. It's not remotely akin or analogous to the actual energy contained in foods derivable by the human metabolic system. The problem with characters like you, Mike, is coming online with a half-assed pseudo-education regarding a topic that you actually know basically dick about fuck regarding, and think yourself qualified to talk to the general public about that topic when it's clear and obvious and patent for anyone with more than 5 minutes of training in actual physics and science that you don't actually understand this at all. Because there are huge, huge holes in your understanding, obviously, patently here.
Then your body fat stores get whittled away because your body has to get that deficit somewhere. It has to get the, let's say it's 500 fewer calories than it's getting from food every day, in relationship to how many calories it's burning.
Okay, how are you going to measure that, Mike? What you're talking about there is a hypothetical energy exchange problem. How are you going to calculate how many calorie equivalents you are genuinely spending at home? How are you going to do that? No? Yeah, that's what I thought.
So to put real numbers to it, let's say you're burning 2,500 calories per day.
But how are we going to know that though, Michael? How are we going to measure that? Otherwise, you're just pulling numbers out of your ass to throw around. What's the point of that? I thought you were going to tell us how to practically do this. Tell me how to measure my calories in or my calories out, Mike. No? Okay. Incredible.
But you're eating 2,000 calories per day.
How would you know that, Mike? Even if the labels on foods were accurate, they're not. They're allowed to be up by 20%, Michael. Even if that wasn't so, and it is so, how do you know that your metabolic system on that day is in fact deriving and storing an equivalent amount of energy to the amount that you would have got from that thing had you burned it in a bomb calorimeter? Because those two numbers are so vastly different in most boluses of food stuff that it's laughable. How are you going to measure how much food energy you have consumed, Michael? Still no? Okay, that's what I thought.
There's a 500 calorie deficit there.
How do you know that? By what means have you measured that exists? That's the point here. You're telling us this is a useful tool. For me, Joe Public, let's say I have no understanding of science, I do, but let's say I didn't, just for fun, and no training, and all I've got to go on is your video, Mike. How am I going to apply what you've got to say here in such a way as that I'm going to be able to predictably change my body composition, should that be a goal that I might have? How?
To get that energy, which the body needs to
We understand the body needs energy, Mike. Nobody's arguing otherwise.
get, or it would just die. Everything would just shut down.
Right, of course. We don't want that. But what's that got to do with me, Joe Public, say, at home, trying to work out how the fuck to apply what you're saying here to achieve any kind of goal? What do I do? How do I do it?
It primarily goes to body fat. So what that means is if you do that for one day, you burn 2,500 calories, you eat 2,000 calories for just one day, you've actually lost a little bit of fat. It's too little to notice, but you've lost a little bit of fat that day. You got a little bit leaner. And then, of course, weight maintenance means that you more or less eat the amount of energy that you're burning every day.
How would I know that other than by watching what my body composition does across time and seeing whether it is in fact stable? What do I do to change my body composition safely, sensibly, predictably, and without vastly grossly underfeeding myself? How?
And it's never going to be perfect because energy expenditure is a moving target. But really
What does that mean, Michael? Energy expenditure is a moving target. What is your meaning there? Because you're telling me how to do this. You're the instructor here, son. You're the one with the knowledge, apparently. What does that mean? What is the take-home message of that statement you've just made?
What it is over the course of a longer period of time, your average calorie intake more or less matches your average calorie expenditure. And you could look at that in terms of an individual day or even over the course of an entire week or even an entire month. That would get.
Yeah, but none of that's useful to me. I could have done that without your little videos so far, Mike. I could have looked at myself in a mirror every day or made some measurements of my various parts of my anatomy or something that would give me an idea of what my body composition is doing. Maybe I could go and get skin folds taken repeatedly by an appropriately qualified ISAC level 3 kinanthropometrist, or maybe do some underwater weighing or get some CAT scans done if I want, real accuracy on this to see what is happening with my body composition. And so long as I have genuinely very accurately recorded what I actually did eat, then I've got a starting point. But how do I change that? Exactly. And how much do I change it by? How do I make some kind of measurement to tell me what to do? Let's say I've got more fat than I want, and you're telling me the way to have less fat is to eat less food. Well, how much less food? Exactly. In order to achieve whatever goal. Still waiting for anything actually useful here, Mike.
Get a bit odd, practically speaking. It's
also, before we get too much further, let's get it out of the way right now. Please explain to me, Michael, how it is that I lost 2.5 pounds of fat off my body in a 14-day period at the beginning of this year when I was consuming 6,500 to 6,500 calories every single day for 14 days in a row. How did that happen, Mike? I wasn't exercising, by the way, at all. At all. My baseline diet for at least 12 months before that 2-week period of up to 6,500 calories a day was about 2,100 to 2,300 so-called calories. So I basically increased my caloric intake by 3 times over and a bit. And I lost 2.5 pounds of fat in 2 weeks. How did that happen? Because calories in, calories out is perfect and works every time predictably without fail, doesn't it? That's what we're being told by idiots like you, Michael. I believe you're going to say exactly that at some point. I saw that in a short section of this I looked at when I decided whether I was going to do the whole video or not. Explain that to me. Shall we wait for that one? That'll be fun. No? Okay.
Most practical to look at it daily, and
it's almost as if something other than just how much food you eat and how much energy you expend doing stuff and things. It's almost as if there's more than that going on in terms of what happens to your body composition over time. It's almost as if human metabolism is an open thermodynamic system that's very, very complex and has many control levers on how it decides to present itself to the world. It's almost like CICO is partial reductionist information, which in practice, in most people, at most times, proves to be ineffectual and fails that person either short-term or long-term, or both. Gosh, that's a shame for you, Mike.
Are some situations where it makes sense to look at it weekly. That's more for intermediate and advanced dieters.
So you're just waffling, son. Have you got anything actually useful to say here about calories in, calories out, and how I should do it? How should I measure my calories in? How do I do that, Mike? How do I measure my calories out?
So to speak. Okay, so that's energy balance. And what does that have to do with the CICO diet? Well,
Not much, because calories are not a great measurement at all of the effective energy available to the human metabolic system derivable from foodstuffs. I think I've said that about 6 times already in this video alone, and many, many times in other videos made about similar buffoons, Michael, saying similar stupid shit as you're saying in this video. One of these days, maybe it'll sink in.
all the diet really entails is tracking your calories.
Great. How? Labels are allowed to be out by 20%. So we're fucked before we even start, aren't we, Michael? Legally, 20% error is perfectly acceptable on a label. That's before we work out whether my individual metabolic system is capable of deriving the full potential equivalent energy as is available by burning that piece of food, had I burned that piece of food rapidly in a closed thermodynamic system like a bomb calorimeter, Mike. So, also, I've got no training, no understanding of physiology or nutrition or anything else, Mike. Let's say I'm Joe Public and I don't have that, and I'm coming to you. You're the coach. How are you going to tell me how to make the adjustments for TEF? What about the adjustments for tracing the metabolic fate of the amino acids that I'm taking in, so that I know how many of those I am oxidizing and thus deriving calories from, and how many of those are being adopted by my body and assimilated into my body as parts of my protein structure of my body, and therefore as such, in effect, not containing any calories at all, Michael? How am I going to make all of those adjustments to track my calories in? Shall we wait? I don't think we should.
In and your calories out.
Great, calories out. That's the same sort of a problem, only worse. How am I going to track my calories out, Michael? At home, without any expensive natty kit and a team of PhDs to help me run that kit. How am I going to do that? Still no? Okay, that's what I thought.
And if you want to lose weight, making sure that you are eating fewer calories than you're burning.
How do I make sure I'm eating fewer calories than I'm burning if I can't measure either how many I am eating or how many I am burning? Please explain. How in the purple fuck am I going to do that?
On a day-to-day basis, and it needs to be significantly
So you need to vastly grossly undereat, which is damaging to your long-term health prospects, damaging to your metabolism, short-term and long-term, contraindicated, dangerous, stupid advice from a charlatan. There we go. There it is. You have to vastly grossly undereat to make sure it's going to work because it's so vastly inaccurate that you have to. Because you can't measure your calories in or out. Oops. We really are done. And you're not a quarter of the way through your ridiculous video, Michael. Whoopsie.
And the reason the calorie deficit needs to be fairly large is fat is very energy dense.
No, that's got nothing to do with it. It's to do with the vast gross inaccuracy of estimation of either how many calories you're eating or how many you are expending. That's why you have to vastly grossly undereat.
Pound of fat contains about 3,500 calories. And so what that means is if you want to lose 1 pound of fat in a week, you have to make sure that you have eaten at least 3,500 calories less than you have burned.
How? Still. Because you still haven't given us any method that we can get anywhere close to accurately measuring that to make sure that's what we do. This is fucking ridiculous, isn't it, kids?
In that week. Now, the math doesn't work out perfectly, so practically speaking, you probably are going to have to eat anywhere from 4,000 to maybe 4,500 fewer calories than...
Right, so that's damaging to your metabolism. That's contraindicated. That's dangerous advice. That's stupid advice, and you should stop immediately, Michael. You are in no fucking position to be giving people dietary advice, clearly. Whatsoever. Irresponsible, dangerous, stupid, arrogant, ignorant bullshit from you. This has got to stop, kids. This is crazy, isn't it? That clowns like Michael here are allowed to basically come online and say whatever the fuck they like about this without any consequences. You should go to prison for this, Michael. Fucking ridiculous.
You burned in the week to lose a pound of fat, but you get the idea. If you are only eating 50 calories less than your burn.
So the endocrine system, the hormonal system, and my inflammasome, my inflammatory system, if you like, has no impact on my body composition or therefore my body weight does not, Michael. It's just how many so-called heat units or calories I've eaten, which I'm supposed to measure how again, and how many I've burned somehow. Again, you haven't told me how I'm going to measure that either. How's this all going to work in practice, Mike? What you've already told me is that I have to vastly grossly undereat in order to achieve this miraculous weight loss. Somehow. But you haven't explained, well, really anything at all. It's incredible.
Burning on a day-to-day basis. You'll lose fat, but it's going to be very slow. Now, the big benefit of the CICO diet or this method or this approach of dieting
this will be good.
Is it is guaranteed to work for...
So a method of measuring that people cannot do at home, that people have no prayer of getting anywhere near, actually accurately gauging how much effective energy they really are taking in or how much they're expending, is absolutely guaranteed to work, is it, Michael? What fucking planet does that logic work on?
For every single person, every single time.
So nobody's ever failed attempting to lose body fat by vastly grossly under-eating for a significant period of time in order to achieve that, have they not? That's never failed anyone, has it? Not, Michael. Again, what fucking planet do you come from, son? Because over here on Earth, what you've just said is fucking ridiculous. And it's false, clearly and patently. Many, many people have failed attempting to do what you're suggesting they should do. Many, many people have fucked up their metabolism long-term and fucked up their health long-term by attempting it. It does not work effectively. It is dangerous, contraindicated advice, and you ought to go to prison for espousing this online.
Literally without exception.
Wrong. And saying literally before something that is false and incorrect doesn't make it correct. It's still false and incorrect. Literally false and literally incorrect. No, Michael. Wrong.
This is the first law of thermodynamics.
No, it fucking isn't. It's got nothing to do with the first law of thermodynamics. If I got you on the phone right now, Michael, you could not quote the first law of thermodynamics to me, I guarantee it. Because if you could, you wouldn't have just said what you've just said. Ridiculous. The first law of thermodynamics has nothing whatsoever to do with this situation at all.
At work, this is a fundamental mechanism of the human metabolism.
No, it fucking isn't. The first law of thermodynamics has got nothing to do with human metabolism at all. The first law of thermodynamics is not applicable to human metabolism. The first law of thermodynamics is a case-limited example of one of the potential practical upshots of the law of conservation of energy, which by its very definition and its very mathematical formalization requires absolutely, explicitly, that the system being considered to which the law applies is a closed thermodynamic system, which the human body is not one of. So pop yourself directly to fuck. Do not pass go or collect $200, and don't you dare talk to people about the laws of thermodynamics again until you know what they fucking are, Michael. Okay? What's next?
Is non-negotiable.
Now, what's non-negotiable is that you need to shut the fuck up permanently about thermodynamics and human nutrition until you've got the first clue about either one of those topics, Michael. Because you don't. Period.
Whether we're talking weight loss or weight gain. And what I mean by that is most people, even calorie skeptics, would agree that you can't egregiously overeat day after day after day and not get fatter, right?
Okay, well, how did I lose 2.5 pounds of body fat in 14 days of egregiously overeating, Michael? How did that occur? I actually lost 15 pounds total on the scale during that period of time, of which roughly 12.5 pounds of that was water, and 2.5 pounds of it was fat. How did I lose 2.5 pounds of fat, give or take, in 14 days of eating 6,500 calories a day? 3 times what I was normally eating without exercising at all. How did that happen, Mike? No? Okay.
Everybody knows that if you eat way too much, if you are stuffed all day because of all the food that you're eating.
Yep, for 14 days, that's exactly what I was. Absolutely pogged. 3 full meals plus snacks every day for 14 days, 6,000 to 6,500 fucking calories, Michael. 2 weeks solid, 2.5 pounds lighter in fat, and 15 pounds lighter in total at the end of that. Explain. Go. Still no? Okay.
You're going to get fatter. Yes.
Nope. 2.5 pounds lighter. 14 days. I'm not suggesting that I would have necessarily not got fatter had I continued to do that for a longer period than 14 days. I probably would have. But I didn't in 14 days. So calories in, calories out does not work at all times for all people every single time without fail. There's one example I've just given you from my own experience where it does not work, did not work, ergo, your argument has failed. Completely, Michael. You're a buffoon. You're an ignoramus. You're a Dunning-Kruger sufferer. And your arrogance to believe yourself competent to speak about this topic when you don't even know what the first law of fucking thermodynamics is or what it applies to, it's embarrassing for you, son. Your parents must be proud and probably closely related to one another, I'd suggest. That's why it's anything I can think of.
Yes, that's true. And that's because of energy balance. It's because of calories in and calories out.
No, it fucking isn't. Still, wrong again.
If you were extremely active, you could eat all that food and not gain fat.
I wasn't. I was completely sedentary and I lost fat, vastly, grossly, hugely overeating for a significant period of time. 14 days is quite a period of time to be doing that. Lost weight, lost fat, lost both weight and fat. Should not have happened, Michael, according to you. It did happen. It's almost as if something's going on that you don't understand, like physics and actual human metabolic process, and the fact that calories in, calories out is bullshit.
You might have to exercise or be physically active 8 or 10 hours a day.
Nope. Didn't lift a finger during that 2 weeks.
But there is a point where you could eat all that food and not get fatter. Now, similarly, if you egregiously underate, if you starved yourself,
then your metabolism wouldn't react to that, would it not, Michael? In a negative way? That wouldn't fuck you up, both short and long term? There wouldn't be an endocrine, hormonal, and immune inflammasome response to that was bad and contraindicated? Okay.
every day, most people would agree that, well, yeah, you do lose weight. Again, even
unless, of course, you become so inflamed by that situation that you start retaining vastly more water than you were beforehand, and suddenly you weigh more than you did when you were eating more calories. Another example of how calories in, calories out could fail you, Michael, because it doesn't work at all times in all people predictably. Whoops. Whoopsie fucking daisy.
people who are skeptical about calories in, calories out. And
it's not a skepticism. It is false. It is wrong. It is a fool's model. The only people that believe this model are A, people who don't know what the laws of thermodynamics are, Michael, and B, idiots who listen to charlatans who've told them that calories in, calories out is valid, and you believe it. You clearly don't have any training yourself in this area at all, clearly. You clearly have no clue about this area. Wow.
Balance. They've probably tried crash dieting before. They've probably tried starvation dieting before, and they can attest to the fact that it works. It does work. The reason it works is energy balance.
Nope. Well, people that lose a significant amount of body fat will be in an effective energy deficit situation. Yes, that is correct. But that has nothing whatever to do with calories, because calories are not a robust, valid, accurate means to gauge the effective energy found and derivable in foods by the human metabolic system on a case-by-case basis from time to time. Okay? And also the hormonal, endocrine, inflammasome, all of those systems play very significant roles in both body composition and ergo body weight, Michael. And calories in, calories out does not account for that. Whoops.
Calories in, calories out
is bullshit.
And it works quickly.
Nope.
Because there is a big imbalance between the calories in and calories out.
Nope. Not reliably and predictably. Sometimes that does happen, what you're suggesting, Michael. More often than not, however, it does not happen the way that you're suggesting that it happens.
When you crash diet, let's say you're on the HCG diet, and if I remember correctly, you're supposed to eat like 500 calories per day and either inject the hormone or put it under your tongue. And what drives the weight loss there is not the hormone. Many of those products actually contained no hormones whatsoever. Welcome to the supplement industry. It was just the massive calorie deficit. So take a woman who was also exercising. Let's say she's burning 2,000 calories per day.
How would she know that, Michael? By what means would she measure that? Does she have a closed full body calorimeter? Does she have adequate Douglas bag gas analysis equipment and respiratory gas analysis gear? Does she have adequate thermistors? Perhaps she has a CAT scan machine in her house. She must be quite well-to-do and know a lot of scientists with PhDs that can run that kind of kit, Mike.
only eating 500 calories per day. That's 1,500 calories that the body has to primarily get from body fat.
Assuming that you've been able to remotely accurately establish the effective energy intake and expenditure, which we've already established in this video quite clearly, Michael, that the average person at home will be completely unable to do. Oh dear.
And so the results come quickly. Now, there are a lot of...
And sometimes they don't, mostly because people are unable to measure the calories in or out, in fact. And in the cases where they actually did reasonably accurately do so, sometimes it still doesn't work because of the inputs of the other systems than your calories in, calories out system, which also have a significant effect on body composition, ergo body weight. Michael. Because your whole fucking argument is facile, ridiculous, reductionist, erroneous. It means wrong. It's a big word, I know. It means wrong, Michael. Stupid, arrogant, ignorant, and contraindicated, dangerous advice. Okay? Incredible.
Bad things that happen as well. You lose muscle, you feel...
Not necessarily, no. Jesus Christ. It's quite clear here that Michael knows nothing whatsoever about anything. You know nothing, Jon Snow. You know dick about fuck. A person who is genuinely in an energy deficit situation, who has any body fat stored on their body anywhere at all, will use that in preference to using their own muscle for energy. Of course they will. Why the purple fuck would that person's body strip muscle off their body to use for energy if there's fat there to use? The very thing the body put there for that very fucking purpose. As the result of at least 3.8 billion fucking years of evolution, Michael. Please explain why the body would do that. It fucking doesn't do that. Jesus Christ.
Terrible. You can run into nutritional deficiencies or at least insufficiencies. It's not the way to...
Right. Those are the kind of things that can lead you to start stripping muscle mass off and become, you might get into a cortisol problem, for example. You might get into a real serious catabolic problem that can lead you to break down your muscle tissue, but it's got nothing to do with energy. Hormonal balance, it's inflammasome activation. The things that we actual physiologists understand, Michael. The things that we factor into our understanding holistically of the human system so that we don't, those of us who actually are scientists qualified in this area, Michael, so that we don't run around saying stupid, mindless, arrogant, ignorant crap like calories in, calories out always works predictably in all people at all times, and it's underpinned by the first law of thermodynamics, all of which is false. Completely fucking false. All of it. And stupid. Did I mention stupid? Good, I wouldn't like you to think I didn't think you were stupid, Michael. You really are incredibly stupid and arrogant as fuck. What's next?
Go, but it does produce quick results. And so what you do is you take that approach, you make it less extreme, you make it make more sense in terms of where those calories are coming in the way of protein, carbohydrate, and fat.
All right, so now you're going to tell us how to organize our macros, are you, Mike? Given that you don't understand the first fundamentals of physics, thermodynamics, or human metabolism, what would give me confidence in you as a coach to understand how I should build my macros at all? because your credibility is already in the toilet, son. And flushed. And it's halfway down to the sewer. Do tell us about macros, though. Off you go.
And make sure that you are getting enough nutrition and not overdoing it in the gym.
Well, hang on a minute. I thought you said I need to vastly, grossly undereat in order to lose weight. So how am I going to get enough nutrition and vastly, grossly undereat at the same time, Michael? Which is it? Which one do you want me to do? And how am I going to decide how vastly and grossly to undereat? How am I going to measure it? Because calories won't do it. We've already discussed. We've already well and truly discussed that. We all understand now, those of us with more than 3 brain cells, that that's not going to work. We're still flailing in the wind here, Michael, for some actual usable sensible commentary from you on any topic at all.
And now all of a sudden you have a great weight loss regimen. You have something that's healthy, sustainable, and effective.
Well, that's a great story, Mike, but probably next time more emphasis on the dragons, I would suggest. Perhaps a bit less incest and a decent ending, because after 8 seasons, I'd be pretty pissed off. Maybe I'll be over it one day. Right, what's next?
And not only that, but you also have something that's backed by over a century of research on the human metabolism.
Oh, really? Great. Now you're an expert in the research on human metabolism, are you? I thought this video was about what 33 studies say about the calories in, calories out diet. We're nearly halfway through and you haven't mentioned a single study. Are you going to mention 33 studies in the second half of your video? How are you going to do justice to any of those as a discussion about the merits of those papers? Because every time you analyse a paper in enough depth to do it justice on any topic in science, that's probably going to take about half an hour, Mike. Is your video another 15 hours long? No, it's about 10 more minutes. Mr. Thermodynamics, Mr. Calories in, Calories out, Mr. Expert in Science. How the fuck's this going to work? This will be fun, won't it, kids? Stick around.
There is no scientific debate about this anymore. Scientists...
There really is a lot of debate that still goes on about nutrition, fat loss, weight loss, metabolism, endocrine response, hormonal response, inflammasome response. There really is a huge amount still of discussion on this topic, Mike. So your first statement about the science and the state of the science, wrong. If we ignore your already false statements about thermodynamics, energy and physics, and the ability to measure energy in or out.
Are not even questioning the preeminence of energy balance.
Energy balance, sure. But you won't find a single paper that will tell Joe Public how he can measure, or she can measure, his or her energy, Joseph or Josephine that is, at home, without expensive kit, laboratories and PhDs to run that kit. Because, Michael, they still fucking can't. And calories are not accurate enough to get anywhere near it. In or out. Okay?
They know this is how it works. And that's why countless, I'm talking about scores and scores and scores, hundreds and hundreds of controlled trials.
Right. So how many controlled trials have you read, Michael, ever? And if you're saying there's hundreds and hundreds of them, is there a list of hundreds and hundreds of papers that you've listed underneath this video? Or do you just want to say hundreds and hundreds of papers to make it sound like you've got some credibility behind what you're saying here? Because we've all been watching this video, Michael, and we all know exactly where your credibility level is. Okay, it's halfway to the oxidation pond on the other end of the sewer. It's that far gone. Right? Hundreds and hundreds of studies that say what, Michael?
And
because this one here is called 33 studies, and we still haven't got to the first one.
Meta-analyses and research reviews have concluded that for meaningful weight loss to occur, energy in must be less than energy out for a sustained period of time.
Great. So how are you going to measure that? In or out, Michael? Because we've already decided the calorie is not a metric we can use to do that. It is vastly, grossly inaccurate as an estimate of actual available energy. We've covered that. And we're still absolutely heard nothing from you whatsoever about how Josephine or Joe at home is going to measure their expenditure. How are they going to do that, Michael? Still no? Tell us about hundreds and hundreds of studies, though.
Over a sustained period of time. And this is how every weight loss diet works. Anyone who ever followed a diet that didn't explicitly revolve around calories in and calories out, the only reason they lost weight is because one way or another, their calories in were significantly less than their calories out for long.
No, that's not true at all. Remember, 2.5 pounds of fat off in 14 days, consuming 3 times my basal intake for the 12 months previous to that, and not exercising at all. Explain that, Michael, because that flies directly in the face of what you've just said. Wrong again. Or wrong still, depending on how you want to look at it. Just wrong. No, Michael.
Long enough for meaningful weight loss to occur. Now, you might be wondering, well, what about certain foods? What about carbs? What about sugar? What about grains? How does that fit into the CICO diet?
It doesn't, because CICO makes absolutely no adjustment for that.
Does that fit into everything I've been talking about? None of that matters. If we're just talking about weight loss, none of that matters.
Right, so if it fits your macros is what you're now going to say, is it, Michael? You're going to be that fucking stupid, are you?
As much sugar as you want. You can eat as much carbohydrate as you want. You can eat as much bread as you want. You can eat.
Wow. Oh my fucking God. Retard of the Year award, I think, needs to go to Michael. Ted. My good friend Ted, you've been a bit quiet of late. Perhaps you can tell us what you think about everything you've heard from Michael so far.
Bollocks!
I thought you might ask that or say that. I thought you might say that. And do you have any questions in particular for Michael, perhaps?
What, are you retarded?
Yeah, I thought you might ask that. He can't behave for 5 minutes, Ted. It's the last time I ask him.
What, are you retarded?
Or not. Right. Michael.
Eat whatever you want, so long as your calories are far enough beneath your calories in is far enough beneath your calories out.
How far and how do I gauge that without doing permanent damage to my metabolism, especially considering that many of the things you've just mentioned that it's perfectly okay for me to eat are absolutely toxic for human beings and will absolutely destroy my health, Mike? Without any question. But you're the expert though, son. I'm leaning on you for your expertise in this field. Please go on.
What you eat doesn't matter. That
fuck. Wow. Yeah, I mean, if I just told you that this bloke had said this, boys and girls, would you believe me? Would you believe this? Wow.
That, however, brings me to, I wouldn't say downsides of the CICO diet, but caveats. And the caveats are, if you don't know what you're doing, if I just left you at that and said, hey, calculate, figure out, go over to legionathletics.com and search for calories burning, read the article I wrote on how many calories am I burning, figure out.
Yeah. How do you know how many calories anybody is burning, Mike? How in the purple fuck do you know anything about that? You don't. You're making wild guesstimates for people based on probably not much more than their weight, their height, their gender, their age, and possibly some estimate from that person about how active they think they are. Are you stoned? Is that what the problem is here, Mike? Are you stoned? Must be. Incredible.
Approximately how many calories you're burning every day.
Approximately. Right. Very good.
Eat 500 fewer calories than that every day. I don't care.
Bad idea. Damaging to the health long term, damaging to the metabolism, short term, medium, and long term. Telling people they can eat whatever they like so long as they stay under some calorie count that they can't even fucking accurately make anyway, Mike. Telling them this always works every time when it fucking doesn't. Telling them that it's underpinned by thermodynamics when it's fucking not. Stunning. Absolutely fucking stunning.
Care what you eat. Goodbye. Have fun. You will lose weight, but you are probably also going to end up losing muscle. And there's a fair chance you are going to develop maybe not nutritional deficiencies, but insufficiencies. Now, the reason for that is you might say that you want to lose weight, but really what you mean is you want to lose fat and not muscle. That's the goal, right?
Right. And nothing you have said will help anybody achieve that goal in any way in this video. All you have done is send them up the garden path or send them up shit creek without a paddle. All you've done is misinform people hugely, grossly, and made an absolute cocksplat of yourself while you've been doing it. That's all.
Even if you're not a body composition person, you're not a fitness person or a bodybuilder or whatever, you still don't want to lose muscle. You never want to lose muscle. That's never good. And one of the most important nutritional components of weight loss to ensure that you preserve muscle is eating enough protein. Protein helps preserve muscle. It's been shown in a number of studies. Again,
a number of studies. How many, Michael? Are you going to cite those? Because you're now nearly 2/3 of the way through your video here, which is supposedly about what 33 studies say about the CICO diet, and you still haven't mentioned a single study. Not one.
This is indisputable at this point. You want to be eating enough protein when you're in a calorie deficit.
Okay, how much? Because you're the coach, Mike. You're going to tell me how to achieve this lofty goal somehow. How much protein do I need to eat?
To make sure that you hold on to the muscle that you have. And if you are new to resistance training and you get into that as well, you can even gain muscle while you're losing fat. Now, fortunately, it's pretty easy to do. If you just get about 40% of your daily calories from protein.
How am I going to do that? Please explain, because I would need to make corrections for TEF. I would need to make corrections for tracing the metabolic fate of all of those amino acids to work out how many of those amino acids in effect were used for calories somehow. No? Fucking unbelievable.
You will do fine. That's all.
Oh, okay. Good. I'll do fine. Good. Thanks, coach. I hope they have good visiting hours in the prison, son, that you ought to be in. Jesus.
All you got to do. For most people,
that's all you got to do, boys and girls. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, coach. That's all you got to do.
It's about 0.8 to maybe 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. Now, if you run those numbers and you're new to all of this stuff, you might be surprised at how much protein that is. Well, the thing here is, if you look at that protein intake in the context of the scientific literature, that's not a very high protein diet. That's a moderate to moderately high protein diet. You can find
What number did you just give?
surprised at how much protein that to maybe 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. All you got to do. For most people, that's about 0.8 to maybe 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. Now, if you run those numbers and you're new to all of this stuff, you might be surprised at how much protein that is. Well,
Right, tell us how much that is. How do I do that in practice?
Here is, if you look at that protein intake in the context of the scientific literature, that's not a very high protein diet. That's a moderate to moderately high protein diet. You can find examples.
It's more moderate than moderate to high, but okay. How do I do that, Mike? And what does that got to do with the calories I'm deriving from that protein? Nothing.
Of studies where people are eating twice that amount, and in some cases may even be benefiting from it. Now, that's in the case of advanced weightlifters and bodybuilders, but there is a case to be made for some people in certain circumstances to eat double that amount.
Okay, which people and in what circumstances? Because you're the coach, Mike. You're the expert here. You're going to tell us how to achieve this lofty goal of weight loss and not losing muscle mass. So am I in that position? Am I one of these people that should eat twice the amount of protein that you've just spoken about? And if so, how do I do that? By what means?
To eat upward of 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight per day. And so really, this is just a matter of...
Yeah, I don't think anybody should do that, bodybuilder or not, frankly, personally. That will very likely lead you to very serious metabolic consequences that are of a very negative nature.
Of framing, it's a matter of perception, because the average person eats so little protein, they do not eat enough. The average person does not eat enough protein just to help.
Yeah, you still haven't told us anything about how we get the amount of protein that you're talking about. How do I do that?
Maintain muscle and strength as they get older. It's actually unhealthy how little protein most people eat.
You've said that, but you still haven't given us anything of any utility or any instructions.
And so when you have people who are coming from that kind of diet over to something like this, and they start looking at what it would take to in many cases, it's like double their protein intake, that can feel a bit odd and even a bit overkill. It's not, though. Again, a number of studies.
How many? How many studies, Michael?
Including meta-analyses and research reviews.
So what? And we're really running out of time for you to tell us about 33 studies. Because that's the title of your video, remember here, Mike? It says what 33 studies say about the calories in, calories out diet for weight loss. You still haven't mentioned a single fucking study, not one.
So the highest and best forms of evidence that we have studied.
Hang on. The highest and best forms of evidence, according to whom? According to whom? As determined how? By what empirical scientific method was this goodness of quality of evidence determined? No? Again? That's what I thought. Okay.
These of studies where they're taking a whole bunch of trials that have been done and putting together criteria and seeing which meet those criteria and then reviewing everything together to see what the weight of the evidence is. A large body of evidence.
No, that's just a buzz term, a large body of evidence. If you want to give us a large body of evidence, Michael, then you give us a large body of evidence. Give us the citations that we can look through and assess the veracity of those citations for ourselves as competent scientists. No? Okay, that's what I thought.
Has been established that eating, again, around 40% of your daily calories or
How do I do that, Michael? How?
around 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight.
Well, which? Because they're quite different numbers, potentially. Quite different. Which one? And how do I do that? How do I get 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight? And is that lean weight? Or if I'm a fatty, is it on my fat weight? Coach, looking to you for guidance here.
Per day is a sweet spot for most people when they're in a calorie deficit. Okay, the second caveat for the CICO diet is if you use what you've learned here as...
Which is fucking nothing except fallacy, misdirect, smoke and mirrors, a few buzz terms which mean nothing, and you've given us nothing of any practical value whatsoever, at all. Zero.
a license to eat a bunch of junk food.
You've just said, not 5 minutes ago, I can eat whatever I like so long as I stay under calories somehow. Which is it? Fuck me, this guy's really credible, isn't he?
You can lose weight and you might even feel okay depending on where you're at, because for some people, if you're overweight, losing weight is so healthy. It has such beneficial effects in the body.
Seriously, man, you should never make another video on nutrition. Ever. You are so far off track here that it's beyond laughable. Just incredible.
Body that those can overpower any negative effects that might be occurring from eating a terrible diet. But if that goes on for too long...
How long's that? How long's too long? And what are you deciding is junk and not junk? How do we decide what is junk and not junk? Exactly.
So if you neglect fruits and
Fruits are contraindicated in the human diet, Michael. Vegetables are contraindicated in the human diet, Michael.
And whole grains and
whole grains are contraindicated in the human diet, Michael.
Proteins and healthy fats, and you just
eat. What are healthy fats? You've just told us that fruits and vegetables are indicated. So what would give me any confidence that you have the first fucking clue what a healthy fat is or where I would get it? Wow. Wow.
Eat a bunch of Oreos and Pop-Tarts and pizza and hamburgers and all the other tasty things that you can try to fit into your calories. Eventually, you're not going to feel so good. Again, your body will start to develop nutritional deficiencies and insufficiencies, and those are going to have ripple effects. It's going to affect your workouts if you're working out. It's going to affect your sleep. It's going to affect your energy levels. It's going to affect your focus. It will catch up with you. Simple workaround for this is just ensure that about 80% of your daily calories come from relatively unprocessed, nutritious foods.
Such as?
And those are usually the things that you make yourself. Again, fruits.
No.
Vegetables.
No.
Whole grains.
No.
Legumes.
No. Lean
protein.
No. Protein should be fatty.
Healthy fats.
What are those, Michael? Because you've got everything else you've said wrong in this video. Absolutely everything from start to finish.
A lot of the stuff that our moms probably told us to eat. If you get most of your calories from that stuff, you can then take, let's say 20, maybe even 30% of your calories and use them on the junk.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Wow. 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 Boys and girls.
That is a perfectly healthy and effective...
Okay, I'm done. Fuck it. I am done with this fucking moron. I can't sit through one more fucking second of this nonsense. Son, never, ever make another video about nutrition. Don't you fucking dare. Wow. The worst video ever. The worst ever. Wow. Anyway, join me next time when someone else will be wrong on interwebs, because it doesn't look like slowing down anytime soon, does it, kids? There's going to be plenty of grist for the middle here. Let's have some music instead. 2, 3, 4.